your voice. Only you can laugh your laugh. Only you can have your joy. There is only one you. There is only one you in all of the universe. You are the first. There is only one you. Only one you. Only one you. Only you can blow your kiss. Only you can wink your eye. Only you can clap your hands. Only you can sigh your sigh. There is only one you. There is only one you. In all of the universe, you are the first. There is.
Hello, I'm Carolyn Jones with the Washington State Department of Social and Health Services, and welcome to another workshop on the web. Today our topic is Giving Our Youth Wings to Fly. And this is an exciting time for our department and for independent living skill programs all across the country, helping our youth get ready to be part of adult society. And today we're joined by somebody that's a very, very special person. And it's kind of neat that he's a national speaker. And it's kind of neat that he's the author of 5 books that are bestsellers. It's kind of neat that he was the CEO of one of America's largest publishing companies, and that he's a professor at the New School at New School University in New York City. But probably the neatest thing that Bob Danzig would say about himself is that he's a former foster child himself. And he's here today to talk about the fact that being a foster child probably helped him succeed in all those other neat things that he's gotten to do in his life. So we're really grateful that he's come all the way from New York City to be with us, and a lot of kids that are in the Independent Living Skills program here in the Olympia, Washington area. And we'd like to welcome Bob Danzig with a wonderful story on how foster parents, social workers, and foster children, foster teens, can all work together to build a wonderful future for children in care. And Bob, welcome.
Carol, thank you very much. You know, when you speak a lot around the country, you learn to look for friendly eyes. And I couldn't help but think, as I've met all you outside, what friendly eyes you have. I feel so much at home with all of you. You are worthwhile. You are full of promise. Those 2 sentences, those 8 words, transformed my life. And what I want to visit with us about today is being open to those things that come our way that can transform our lives. I come to you from a large media company. We have 140 businesses. We're the largest monthly magazine publisher in the world. So if you've ever read Good Housekeeping or Red Book or Cosmopolitan or Town and Country or Harper's Bazaar, the Oprah magazine, we've touched your minds. We own television stations all over the country. We own a bunch of newspapers all over the country. In all those markets, we're given the privilege of touching people where they live. We own a movie company that produces for television movies only. So if you watched a TV movie in the last year, you let us touch you in your minds. And we also, in partnership with Disney, we own several cable networks, ESPN, ESPN2, the History Channel, Lifetime, A&E. So if you've watched any of those networks, you've given us the privilege of touching you where you live. And the only reason I give you a little teeny profile about our company is because what drives our 20,000 employee colleagues is what all of you watching and in this room are. Talents. We're just a place that gathers up talents, and talent produces everything we have. So we treasure talents. And you are entitled, whether you're watching or here today, you're entitled to treasuring your unique talent. I've been with our company since I was 16 years old. I grew up in the foster care system. My parents were divorced and left the area I lived in when I was 2 years old. And I never knew a traditional family. But I had a social worker when I was 11 years old. Her name was Mae Morris. And the very first time I met with her, she reached out, give me your hand, Scott. She took my hand, And she said to me, I want you to never forget, you are worthwhile. And every time I met with May, she told me the same thing. In fact, by the fourth or fifth time I met with her, she would say to me, what am I going to say to you at the end of our little discussion? And I'd reach out and take her hand and say, you are worthwhile. No one had ever told me that I had any purpose or value until I met that caring social worker. And her comment was like a tattoo in my spirit. It gave me for the first time a sense that I had personal possibilities in life. Now let me tell you how you get to be CEO of a big multi-billion-dollar company. Step one is to get fired from your first full-time job. Because the system got me a job when I got out of high school, and I skipped a year, not because I was smart, but I skipped a year because they put me in the wrong grade. And I drifted through school. This is not uncommon for foster care kids, all right? I had not yet turned on my ignition burners to realize that I had a mind and possibilities. I was not yet able to be a Governor's Scholar, all right? As you are. But they got me this job in a wholesale mattress department of Montgomery Ward's, a big department store. And in this thing, they had these bins full of mattresses. And you climb up the bins, and the foreman would call out the number B4 and C5, and you'd push that baby off and go down and land on a trampoline on wheels. And I went to work there in May. By September, I was pretty fast, up the ladder, across the catwalks. And one Friday afternoon, I swore that foreman said C8. And I pushed that mattress off and down it came. There was no trampoline, it was the foreman. And he looked up from the floor, and I had my first ever corporate consequence. He said, get out, you're fired. So I went to a high school dance that night, just like some people in group living, and you become friends with each other, the group living, you become kind of mentors to each other. I met a high school buddy. And he said, what are you doing? I said, well, I just got fired from Montgomery Ward's. He said, that's a contradiction in terms. Nobody gets fired from Montgomery Ward's. You just have to show up. I said, well, the C8, the foreman. And he said, well, I'm the office boy at the local newspaper. And he said, if you come down Monday morning, maybe I can get you considered for my job because I'm being promoted to clerk. And so I went, he said, Timothy, you look a little young. So I think it would help if you bought a hat. So I went and I bought a hat. Not a nice cap like you got, but a regular hat. I never had a hat before. So down I went. There were 9 guys in front of me applying for this job. Now there's no urgency to hire this person. This is the lowest possible job in the business. I'm standing there about an hour and a half, and finally came my turn. This little lady, she looked like a pit bull. Toughest looking little lady I ever saw. She took my little application, which all it had was my phone number and my name. I'd just been fired from my last job when I'd been in high school. It's not a resume. And she said to me, I want to ask you a question. I said, yes, ma'am. She said, why are you wearing that hat? And I said, my friend told me I looked too young and bought this, but you've been in this office for an hour and a half. When you're inside, you're supposed to take your hat off. I said, well, I never had a hat before. I didn't know what to do. And I'm convinced she hired me because I didn't know enough to take my hat off. But more importantly, she did what you do who are the foster parents and the social workers. She did what you will do one day. She took an interest in me. And I worked for about 4 months. One Saturday morning she said to me, I want to see you in my office. I thought, my God, I'm going to get fired twice in 4 months. So I went in, terrified. She sat me down. She said, I've been the office manager for 15 years, and I've been observing you. She said, I believe you are full of promise. They're magical words to me. To have somebody in authority say to me that I have a possibility. I don't just have to have a job, I have a possibility. And I must tell you, I went to college nights for 6 years, then I got a fellowship to Stanford University in California for a year. And 17 years after walking the door as the office boy, I was the head of that company. And 7 years later I was in New York running our whole corporation, which I did for 20 years. I never stopped hearing her words. They're with me today. You are full of promise. And I've come to believe that everyone has promise. Everyone has unique capabilities. Everyone has a noble purpose. But none of those things can happen to us. We cannot have a sense of being worthwhile. We cannot sense our own personal promise. We can't etch our own tomorrows unless we let those people into our lives. All right? I think I was a typical foster care kid, angry, confused, bewildered, where am I going to be next, etc. But those two women, they touched my life. They became my spirit anchors. They lubricated my life. And I've never stopped thinking about them. I've never stopped talking about them. I've had this song commissioned called You Are Worthwhile, You Are Full of Promise. So when we have the privilege of guiding others, as difficult and as choppy and as frustrating as that may be sometimes, if we keep our noble purpose in mind, we never know what etching we're going to make on a life. And when we are in the system and we don't close ourselves down but open ourselves up to the possibilities that come our way, I call them angel threads that come our way. And they get woven into our personal tapestry. If I had sat here with all of you when I was 16 years old, just been fired from my last job, never had a family, never had anybody to connect to, and somebody said to me, this is what will happen in your life, and they described the things that Carolyn just described, I would have said, you're wacky. That can't be me. That can't be me, all right? I have nothing going for me. I don't have a traditional family. I don't have anybody to encourage me. I don't have any support system. I don't have any lifelines. I don't have any security blankets. I have nothing going for me. But I did have something going for me, didn't I? I had those two women who reached out and gave me a sense. They etched something on my spirit, and it's never, ever left me. So, among the messages, I would hope that, and who am I to carry this with you, all right? Except that I've done all these things. I've written all these books. College professor. I've run a big multi-billion-dollar company for 20 years. I've done all these things. It has nothing to do with me. It has to do with being open to the people who cross your path. We have to be open to them. And when we have the privilege of being the instrument of that, a lot of frustrations, a lot of difficulties, all right? But we hold on to those things that represent our victories in life, all right? And when we understand our noble purpose, there's a noble purpose in choosing the vocations. Scott told me outside, he had a career in finance for 15 years, you know, married, family, etc. And then they had one foster child come their way. And he said his career, while satisfying financially, left him empty. And when he made this career change to be the instrument to guide the 42 kids he worked with, all right? His heart embraced that. He's never had a day without some challenge, he told me, but he's never had a day without deep satisfaction. He allowed something else into his life. And that's what we can all do. We can make that choice. We can make the choice to understand our noble purpose, to let those threads come and be part of our tapestry of life. And we can choose to be the source to encourage and guide and endorse others. That's a great privilege. When I had this second song done, it's included in a book called There Is Only One You. You think about this. Right? The you may not have all the advantages of some other you, but there's no other you in the whole universe. There has to be a purpose to that. There has to be something that makes it worthwhile for us to proceed with success in life. And we can measure success by many different things, but we never measure success by failure. Do you have a question?
Was there some value to the experience that you had in foster care?
Well, I've thought about this a lot. I think the value is this. You all may be different. Those of you watching may be different. You may have had better experiences than I had, all right? But I found that my energy had to be put on survival. I was trying to survive the foster care home I was in, not be repudiated, not be pushed away again, have to start all over again, not have to pack that green plastic garbage bag with a few things I had, okay? And I never thought about it at the time because my emotions were all put into surviving. But it's interesting. That instinct to survive those circumstances can mature as an adult into great strength. You can handle adversity that overwhelms other people because you've had to endure that kind of adversity. Would you choose it? No. But since you've had it, the flip side of it is that it strengthens you. I must tell you that I've seen corporate colleagues of mine overwhelmed by business situations. To me, it's just another thing to handle. None of it can compare with what I had to go through in putting all my emotions into surviving the system. But I'm indebted to the system, curiously. Because I think that I wrote a book called The Leader Within You. It's about the powers of leaders. And I speak about the topic a lot around the country. And people say, well, what's your favorite personal power? And I tell them, my favorite personal power was born out of being a foster child. And that power is perseverance. You have to persevere, you see? You have to persevere in the system. And you're fortunate in a way because you've got highly qualified professionals who guide you and care about you. The system didn't always have this, really. It was kind of just informal and none of the kinds of disciplines that are in place today. But that survival appetite grows into perseverance. And I must tell you that when things get tough, they're never so tough for me. Other people are kind of overwhelmed by them. Not me. I just keep on going. It has nothing to do with me. It has to do with the system having forced me to have to learn how to survive. You know, I open my comments by saying that I look for friendly eyes. I speak a lot to a lot of big audiences. So you don't know that your eyes are friendly. That they're wide and bright and eager. They reflect something. They reflect a determination on your part to not live imprisoned by yesterday's disappointments and disadvantages, but to take from those the strength that can really lubricate your life going forward. So I think there's a great value. Would I choose it? No, I wouldn't choose it. But if you're going to be in the foster care system, there's no reason not to seek out the value. Let there be a value in it. I think about this often. I was never in a group home. I wish I had been, because I think it produces a lot of kind of informal camaraderie. You get to know a group of people that become part of your, as it were, informal family going forward. Never had. I wished I had, because I think it gives you a great strength when you have those people who are kind of your brothers and sisters. They're brothers and sisters of a shared experience, okay? Not brothers and sisters of blood alone.
You talked about children deserving a champion in the book that you wrote, Every Child Deserves a Champion. And I wondered if you'd share with the group the context of the book and its companion book and the neat program with the Child Welfare League and what the intent ultimately will be in distribution.
Okay. Well, every book starts as an idea. And what I like to do is to take the idea and then write a sentence about what's the noble purpose. What's the purpose of doing this thing? All right? What's the noble purpose? I write that sentence, I let it guide me through the whole process then. And I had done this book with the intention at the time of gifting the book to the foster care kids of America over 12 years of age. And I put a lot of energy into this thing. I went to the foundation library and I looked up foundations that support foster care kids, and I looked for if different foundations in each state, etc. And I called all the different states and got the numbers of foster care kids over 12 years of age, because I figured that was an age to read and listen. Then I commissioned the song to be done. The CD of the song is the inside cover of the book. All right, it's a fabulous song, I think, because I so respect the people who did it. And then the Child Welfare League in Washington, which is the largest child-focused charity in the nation, called me. They said, we heard about your book, it came to our attention, and actually we have a copy, and we've read it, we'd like to talk with you. So I went down to Washington to meet with them, And I was very enthused about the fact I was going to have this alliance with this publishing arm of the Child Welfare League. And I walked in, and their chief fundraising officer, Dr. Mary Leopold, said, "I just read your book last night. It's delicious," she said. But she said, "We think you're 100% misguided in your target of gifting this to foster care children." I said, "What do you mean? I put all this time into this." They said, "No, we think this should go to all the foster care parents. It should go to all the foster care social workers of America. We want to team up with you to do that. All right, we'll go out and seek the funding, etc." Then I said, "Do you have any other ideas?" And I said, "Well, actually, I have this other song I commissioned, and I'm thinking about doing a mini book based upon this theme of There Is Only One You." So I had the book designed, and I brought it down to them. They said, "This is the book for the foster care kids." All right? So that book is being printed right now at Wisconsin, and we're teaming up, and we're going to go state by state, attempting to get foundations to fund these books and gift them to the foster care community. I want this message to be there with all the foster care community. And no money will come to me from this at all right? All the monies will go to the Child Welfare League. But then they'll publish the books for general store distribution after we get one state sponsored. And the royalties from that will come to me, and I give the money away to foster care kids. That's what I do. So I'm very happy to be here with you today to talk about this project, because I believe every child deserves a champion. And I believe there is only one you.
Questions from the audience? Anybody have a question for Bob or a comment?
Great. Let's make this a conversation.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Oh.
Oh, we have a couple people here. Okay, so let's pass the mic up there.
Give me your name to your first name.
My name's Doug, and she's
Doug.
pressing me on seeing about sponsoring my lyrics, because she just read over them, and I didn't want to ask, but is there any funding for putting on sponsorships for shows? And because I have an upcoming performance at the Washington
Good
Center of
for you.
Performing Arts. So.
Now, what I do is, I've got a library catalog full of foster care kids who are in college. All right, they have to be in college, because I want to incent them to make that next step in their life. And I just send them money.
I'm already enrolled.
No
in
A's or
college.
B's or C's or anything else. Send me an email. I'll give you my card.
I'm starting in the fall. I've been out of school for 3 years. I've just started applying for scholarships and just now started getting
That's
everything back
fabulous.
together. So.
And what school will you be going to in the fall?
South Puget Sound Community College, and then working to go to Gonzaga.
Excellent.
Fabulous.
Go Bulldogs.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
all right. How about over here?
What's your name?
My name's Katie, and I just had a question on distributing your books. How are you going to get the books to the foster kids who are locked up?
Yeah. Say that again. To the foster kids who are.
Who are locked up, not just in juvie, but who are locked up in juvenile prisons?
Well, the Child Welfare League is working with every state's social service department, and to the network they've got the names of all the agencies that connect with the kids. All right, we're not going to gift it to kids under 12 because I don't think they'll be able to read that easily. And those local agencies will then distribute and gift the books to, we're not going to get the names of the people, that would be inappropriate, okay? But we'll have the local agencies, the Child Welfare will, and they'll just ship the books to the local agency who will then gift them to the kids, whatever their circumstance may be. Yes,
Miss
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Look at that smile.
Hope I still have it. Actually, I was under the impression that all the children here are in the independent living program.
Okay.
And within that program, I'm always looking at the fact that when a child turns 18, that's supposed to be so magical, but in my world it isn't. A lot of children, it takes a little longer, and they're late bloomers, or they might be delayed in some areas. Have anyone ever thought about those particular children that really don't know anything about the independent living programs, or if there's available programs ready for when children are at that right over 17 age and they're 18 turns so quickly, and they're still not ready to go anywhere.
Well, since 2001, we have had legislative approval to continue assistance to children that are going to stay engaged in the educational process. And so are there other providers here that would like to speak to that, to that level or that series of ages that help kids exit at 21? Okay, not. But that there are resources for that to allow kids to go to Voc Tech or go on to community college, to stay involved in the educational process and to see them through. I think the best thing to do if you have a kid in your home that you think could benefit from that and is open to receiving those services would be to call the case manager on that particular case, and they can facilitate, getting information to you. It appears, too, that we have an email question, and then we'll get to your question. Okay, this email comes from Tacoma. What advice do you have for foster parents to assist children in the care to be survivors and achievers? So what tips would you give our foster parents?
Yeah, I think there's no substitute for encouragement. People, not just kids, not just foster kids, need encouragement. They need endorsements. They need guidance, all right? And if a foster care situation is, and I've been in some of these, where your kind of needs were furnished, there was a bed to sleep in, there was a meal to have, etc., and there were some responsibilities, but you didn't have this atmosphere of guidance and concern and involvement. So I think that foster care parents who want to really fulfill noble purpose are going to have a guideline all the time of genuine encouragement for those who they're privileged to guide. And they're going to seek out those opportunities that let them applaud and endorse. It's very interesting. These things don't leave us just because we leave the system or because we turn 18 or whatever it may be, all right? You find folks in their professional lives yearning for celebration and approval and encouragement. So I think foster care parents are like any other persons in terms of being heightening their awareness of the fact that their noble purpose in the system is more than care. It's concern and guidance and appropriate involvement.
Great, thank you. You had a question.
Oh, I just wanted to
I think we need the
add.
mic.
I just wanted to add to the independent living skills question. As a provider in Tacoma, there are many services for kids after the age of 18, not only with independent living skills, but transitional living programs, plenty of different housing programs. And if the child is participating in independent living skills at 16, which they should be, then all of those services are right and ready for them, and they just need to be accessed. So starting at 16 is really where I'd like to see them start using what we can give them.
I've heard it said that independent living skills begin in the cradle. So there are foster parents here online today watching this that maybe are caring for children that are tinier. And we want them to also be thinking about the fact that just as a little bird learns how to hunt and to fly, to use those wings, we have to be building the blocks for our children much earlier than 13, but certainly getting them hooked up when they enter adolescence. Oh, we have a question back here.
If you had the ability to change one thing about your life or the life of any other person, what would it be?
I think that from the standpoint of my own life, it would be to have learned earlier to open and welcome the good people who crossed my path. I was 11 years old. I'd been through a lot of the system by the time I met Mae Morris. I wish that had happened to me when I was 5 or 6. That had a whole series of situations like hers that would cause me to be ever more open to the good people across my path. I was fortunate that I met her, but it was a little later. 11 years old, I was on my way to something, all right? Probably not too much. But I wish that could have happened earlier in my life, all right? The profound lesson it gave me was to be open to the good people who cross your path, to trust them, to trust their concern for us. In terms of my life in general, what would I like to change about my life in general? Well, we have 5 kids. I wish we had 10. My bride says 5 is enough.
There's a question right here.
If you had some kind of advice to give to the youth in foster care, what would it be?
Be open, genuinely open to the good people who come your way. Don't focus on the disappointments. Don't focus on anger. Don't focus on those things that are the negatives of life. When you stop and think about this, if you give your energy today because of some frustration about yesterday, you really cheat yourself, because you can't change yesterday. Yesterday's history. You can take some lesson from it, but to let that invade this day, to say, God, I didn't have parents, I don't have a family, let that invade this day, is not productive. And similarly, while it's perfectly appropriate, we were talking outside about the fact you get a double major and you hope to go to law school, it's perfectly appropriate to have plans and expectations. If you let anxiety about, am I ever going to get into law school, cheat you from this day, then you've lost the day, because tomorrow's only a promise. So if I had a single bit of advice, it would be this: treasure the day and be open to the good people who cross your path. Let their threads come into your tapestry. Let them not just pass by. Let them come in and let them help grow you. They can grow you in ways inestimable. You know, it seems like almost an overstatement to think that I bumped into these 2 women, one a foster care social worker, who cared enough to say, you are worthwhile. You can say, well, those are only a bunch of words. No, they weren't. They were really pistons in my engine of life, all right? Another woman saying, you are full of promise, all right? Because she was in authority. And, you know, most of the foster care systems I was in, the homes I was in, they were matriarchal. The women were in charge. So for a woman in charge to tell me I had possibilities had a profound influence on my life, profound. You know, it's interesting. I'm going to finish this one thing, Doug. I have a lot of women friends. And my bride says the reason I have a lot of women friends is because I had to try to accommodate to the foster care system, which was largely women. She said, you became comfortable trying to please those women so you wouldn't be pushed away again. And she said, it stayed with you as an attribute. I have a lot of women who work for me. I'm very comfortable with women. So it came out of that. The other piece of, if you don't, can I go on?
Oh, yeah.
If I was going to give advice, it would be this. I do a presentation on success. And we talk about mindset and motivation, what I call the Beatitudes and self-esteem. But the single most important thing I talk about, based on my experience, I've run a big company for a long time. I've seen a lot of successful people. And if there's one single thing that you find in successful people, they always do more than is required. They always take the extra step. They go the extra mile. They don't have to be stars. They don't have to leap out ahead for them. But they get in the habit. It just becomes a life habit of doing more than is required. They just always do it, and they carry it with them all the time. It's a very interesting thing to look at. So if I were to try to anchor things down to one thing besides being open to the good people who come your way, is to get in the habit of doing more than is required. It serves you so well in life. Really, really does.
Talk a little bit about, as you shared with me earlier before the broadcast, academically, you struggled because all that energy was going toward survival. Share with
what we were talking about was the fact that when I met my bride, she had a master's degree from college. She was a teacher and all. And she'd said to me, you know, you have a good mind. You really ought to go to college and certify it. I said, honey, I can't go to college. There's certain things I never learned. She said, what do you mean? I said, well, I don't know how to do a sentence structure. I don't know how to do decimals. I don't know how to do fractions. She said, well, how can you not know those things? I said, because I drifted through school. And I think that's true of a lot of foster care kids. You kind of get by, you're minimalists, all right? You try not to stand out and create problems, but you're minimalist. And if you learn enough just to get by, you don't have to learn anything. And so I really hadn't learned some of these basic kinds of things. And the other thing is, I couldn't learn them. I can't do fractions or decimals or sentence structure. I'm an author of 5 books. I can't do a sentence structure, right?
And a captain of industry.
I have a mental block. Right? I can't seem to learn those things because all my energy was put into how do I survive this foster home? How do I not be pushed away again? I don't know about you, but I felt so desperate when I had to take that green garbage bag and put my few little things in and move on again. Those are the feelings I remember. So learning things didn't matter, all right? And thanks to my good wife's intervention, she was able to get the college in our area to let me in on strict probation. And I ended up graduating with high honors and never knew how to do a structure or a decimal, but I learned everything else. And once I became persuaded I could learn new things and let go of those things that were part of yesterday, it's kind of astonishing. I went to Stanford University on a full fellowship for a year. There's only 12 people a year chosen from the whole country. I couldn't believe it was me out there. I kept looking around, must be some mistake. What am I doing here, huh? But intelligence comes at different stages of life. Just like the satisfaction of your career came at a different stage of your life, okay? And you may have some kids in the system, maybe you, who do very well in school, okay? I think they're the exception. I think foster care kids have an extra burden to overcome. They have to learn how to overcome it, but when they do, there's no stopping you.
We had 2 questions right here. How about if we let you had a follow-up question, and then the gentleman right behind you?
You talk about how you had to put all your energy into survival. How did you survive foster care?
By that. By just putting my energy into not letting myself. I didn't think about this. I was a kid, all right? I was a kid. But I did not capitulate to depression. I did not capitulate to negative things. I found people doing the low road things in life unattractive. And my energy went into trying to keep myself from doing that. All right? It didn't go into learning, didn't go into other things, but went into trying to keep myself from choosing the low road. We all know what it means to choose the low road of life, all right? And that's where my energy went, all right? But I don't remember being melancholy or despondent. I remember being tough. I don't mean tough in a physical way, but tough, that I would not let this overwhelm me. I would get through it somehow.
And the gentleman behind?
Big Doug, the dough man.
Yeah. I actually got a couple questions for you.
Yes, sir.
1, how many foster homes had you been in? And 2, I'm just curious to know why you had to pack everything up into your little green bag.
Well, because that's what they did. That's what they did.
And how many foster homes?
Yeah. I was in a bunch of them. A bunch. You know, my parents divorced when I was 2 years old. I was in the system till I was 16. So a bunch. And you know, it's interesting. We talked about this earlier. I don't have vivid memories of the foster care homes. I have a few names I remember. And I thought about this a lot. Why don't I have richer memories? And I think it's because the ones I were in, they cared for me as required, but they didn't care for me as their heart would dictate. And therefore, it's just a place for me to go through.
They didn't care for you, or you just didn't see it at the time?
I'm not sure. My sense is I wasn't cared for. Yeah. I was ignited when May Morris, that social worker, said to me, "You are worthwhile," ignited. And you could be absolutely right. Maybe I was so tangled up with the emotions of it that I couldn't see that at the time. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Trina. You talk about how you just were surviving it, but you didn't throw your energy into school in any way. So what did you throw your energy into? Was it just, what was your distraction, kind of, from being in foster care, if you had one?
It was trying to please the people I was with so I wouldn't be put away again, pushed away again. That's where my energy went. And I haven't thought about this a lot. I certainly haven't spoken about it a lot, but I probably gave an inordinate amount of my time and attention to how can I please these people? What can I do? What can I maybe do that will cause them to keep me here longer? All right? That's what I meant by putting my emotional energy into it. I didn't have any other distractions. I was never in a place long enough to really develop friends. That came later, and I treasure my friends now. All right. You mentioned your sororities and how you're looking forward to living, and all the girls want your time and attention, etc. But I didn't have, for example, I never went fishing. You can say, that's no big deal, but I never went fishing. We have one adopted child among our 5. Our number 4 is adopted. And Stevie lives up in Maine on a lake. All right, he gets up every day and starts his day by fishing. When I go up with him, I have a struggle fishing. I can watch him, but it reminds me of the fact that I never had any of those things. I never went to a ball game. I never went to a hockey match. I never did those things that many kids do. All right? So I didn't have diversions. It was a limitation. I learned to have diversions as an adult. Really did. I became a hiker and I do a lot of different things, all right? So I had to learn those things new. No one was there to give me any example.
We want to recognize that Trina is one of Governor Locke's scholars and is attending university here in the area and plans to go on to law school. And we are very proud of the fact that she's maintaining a 4-point average. Yes. All right. We have another comment back here.
Yeah, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the Independent Living Skills Program because I felt like your question wasn't really answered fully. But I work at Community Youth Services here in Olympia, and we have an Independent Living Skills Program that's been there for 15 years.
Since the first legislation.
Since the first legislation?
88.
In 88. And any youth who has been in foster care for more than 90 days and is between the ages of 16 and 21 is eligible for Independent Living Skills. And this is a program, the Independent Living Skills program is all over the nation. And once you're enrolled in any Independent Living Skills program, you can access it no matter where you go. So if you enroll with us and then you move to Florida and you want help, setting up there, then you can access Independent Living Skills there as well. There's all kinds of stuff that Independent Living Skills does, both the tangible stuff of helping learn how to cook and clean and shop and budget and open a bank account and apply for financial aid, get into college, getting all your state ID that you need, getting health insurance, all of those tangible things, as well as the intangible things of, building healthy relationships, setting healthy boundaries, conflict resolution, building self-esteem, learning how to express oneself. And we do it both in group. We have a group that meets every Thursday night, which is tonight, and as well as setting one-on-one appointments with people. And a lot of our focus is, because it's totally voluntary, is helping the youth figure out what their goals are. What do they want to achieve? What do they want to see in their lives?
So there's some mentorship that you do individually as well as in group.
Exactly.
Cool.
And even if the youth is no longer in care, they can self-refer themselves if they're no longer a dependent of the state, but they have been. All we need is a referral from the social worker. And also between the ages of 18 and 21, there's something that we call the Transitional Living Services money, which is monies that are set up to help the youth with housing costs like first and last month rent, deposits, utilities, as well as helping with education costs like tuition and books and clothes for school.
That's in regions
Very
4,
good.
5, and 6, with a plan to bring it on in the other regions, I
Okay.
understand.
Great.
Sir, thank you. Thank you for that valuable information.
I kind of disagree with what you're saying about kids usually like shying away and kind of hiding that we're in foster care when they're in the school system, because I've always been somewhat of an outgoing person. So I kind of disagree with that statement, but the problem that I see myself having is that I'll go out and I'll be very outgoing and I'll socialize with just about anybody and have no problem doing it, but I let people get to a certain extent and then I block them off so that they can't go any farther, and I refuse to let myself attach to people. Would you have any advice on how you would try to stop that mindset of not letting yourself attach?
Well, what's your name again?
Ryan Wilson.
Ryan. My observation about the first part is that everyone's a unique individual, and some people are going to react differently than others. I can only describe how I reacted, okay? Secondly, it's interesting. Our only adopted child, our fourth child, Stephen, I had a heart attack in 1985, and all the rest of our kids rallied around me. And Stevie, who was a young kid at the time, he went bonkers. And we ended up with a child psychologist to kind of guide us because we didn't know what to do with him. He was out of control. And the child psychologist told us that it's not uncommon for a child that was originally abandoned to have this deep-seated fear of being disappointed again with someone they care for. So they end up either trying to make themselves unloving and unlovable, or they try to distance themselves when they get to a certain point in relationships. And that's simply a matter of understanding that and working with them through that. And so we went to some joint counseling sessions with Stephen for, I'd say, maybe close to a year, and got him through that rough patch, all right? And that may be something that you're going to have to work on, Ryan, is the fact that you may have a kind of an unconscious, deep-seated proclivity to not let yourself get too attached to people, okay? And even though you're very sociable, generally speaking, you may have to just work on that. That's what we did with Stephen. I don't think there's any universal formula. I'm not here as a psychologist. I'm simply sharing experience that we had.
And what is Stephen doing today?
Stevie is a counselor in a youth center. Isn't it interesting? Yeah. Yeah, he's a sweet, sweet boy. Sweet.
I'm not really sure why, but though I've tried to distance myself from people, my adoptive mother, Jane, she's my mommy, and she's like the only person that I've ever really been able to connect with, and I've told her that, but I'm not sure if she really believes that. But I haven't found anybody else that I've ever really connected with, and I'm not exactly sure why I did connect with her.
Yeah, well, what you mean is that you haven't found anybody else yet, all right? And what you also mean is that you already understand this about yourself. And understanding that insight will strengthen your ability to find a way to connect as time goes by. I believe that.
We have an email from, let's see, Catholic Family and Community Services in the Tri-Cities. What are the names of the other books you have written, and are they about children in foster care?
No, none of them are. I've written a book called The Leader Within You. I have a book called Vitamins for the Spirit. I have a book called Angel Threads, which wouldn't surprise you given the fact I've talked about them. We have the Every Child Deserves a Champion, and we have the new mini book called There Is Only One You. They're not about, none of them are about foster care. I just think that the message of these fit the foster care community. I've been searching for something I could do that might touch the hearts of foster care in general. I decided this book's message might do that. And then with the Child Welfare League, we've now ended up with the 2 books, all right?
Yes.
The books are all very corny.
We have about 2 minutes left,
Okay.
so I'd like to make sure we have, let's let Scott get a quick question in, and then...
Scott Scambolone. I'm an independent living program manager and a foster parent. First, just wanted to say that you said our eyes looked eager and bright, and that's good to know because sometimes I feel really old and tired. But it just fascinates me that you were able to turn yourself around. It's been my experience that that would be more the exception than the rule, than taking these experiences and turning them into something positive. And I'm just wondering, you mentioned the 2 women that had really affected your life. Was there anything else you can point to in your life that happened, or was there any other things that these women did, or more specifically, maybe what were some of the other things that they did for you? Because I think as an independent living skills program manager, the mentoring portion of what we do is the most important. And I just find the older I get, the harder it is for me to make those connections to young people. So,
well, Scott, I focus on those two women because they had the most profound impact on me. But once I became open to people giving me their gifts, I've had an amazing string of people across my path. It's still going on. It happens all the time. That people come and suddenly become part of the tapestry of my life, and they give me something. It's wonderful. It really is. It doesn't have to do with me. It has to do with the openness. All right. I can name person after person after person. This is still going on. It's astonishing to me. All right. These people in the Child Welfare League, I don't know them at all. Out of the blue, they call me and say, "We like your book. We'd like to talk. We can down to Washington." We've all become friends now. They are in my tapestry. So I happen to choose the two women because they really lubricated my life. But they weren't the only ones. There are many, many other people.
You had a question?
First, I never said my name. My name's Rianne, and I'm an ILS peer advocate. You were saying that you wished you had gone through a group home or something. I've been through a lot of group homes, and I just wanted to know why you wanted to go to one. Because they're not very fun.
Because I'm not saying they're fun, but at least you're with other people. It's not just you alone. All right. There's a structure, even if you're just complaining to each other. Okay. You can't do that alone very effectively.
I can.
And, well, maybe you can. But I think I would have been well served if I had had the benefit of two things. Number one, some group home experience as I was a little older in the system. And number two, that I wish I had had the kind of independent living skill opportunities that I hear are covered in your different programs, all right? I didn't have that. I was dumped. They helped me get a room in the house, and they got me this job, and I was dumped. I was on my own. And I felt on my own. I think if I had had a group situation, somebody to talk to, somebody to call, it would have been better than just being alone.
Because I was in a group home for 2 years, and it was not fun. So I was just wondering.
Well, I'm not an advocate of that. I'm simply an advocate of the fact that I think I would have been better served to not always be alone.
And times were different, too. I
Yeah,
think
that's
you spoke
true.
of being put in an attic when the rest of the biological family had their own bedrooms. He had to go up to an old attic and sleep as a 7-year-old. So, you know,
You remember those things.
Yeah.
You remember those things.
Well, I think our time is coming to a close, and I want to thank all of you for being here, and we want to thank the foster parents of our state for opening their hearts and homes and being the strong advocates for our kids, case managers and ILS providers, and really want to thank you guys, you kids that are our future. You. Long after I'm in the nursing home, I'm going to be looking to you to make this world a better place. And I look and see faces here that are filled with promise, filled with motivation, filled with caring for other people, and keep it up. Because, you know, those of us that are with the department, and I think there are a number of us here today, doesn't this make you feel good? Very good. Thank you, and join us again for another workshop on the web.
What special folks, huh?
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Only you can smile your smile. Only you can have your voice. Only you can laugh your laugh. Only you can have your joy. Yeah.